Hey Aquarius, how's it going? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is Eight of Wands, and the second is Five of Swords. This feels like initially there's a direction that you want to go in, but Five of Swords can be sort of like a splitting of the mind, and so you're like, I want to go this way, but also now this way is sort of popping up as an option as well. So you can feel like initially you were going in one direction and then the road wise, and you're like, do I go this way or do I go that way? And it's definitely something mentally that's going on for you. Five of Swords can be a choice where it can feel like separation comes up. So it can be like me versus them, or like what I want versus what this other person wants, or what's best for me versus what's best for this work situation. You know, it can be like that type of thing where you can feel like instead of being in a space of union with things, you can feel like something sort of splits off, and then trying to figure out what to do from that point. You can feel like this is more of a mental thing and less of an emotional thing, or like more of a mental thing, psychological thing, and less of an intuitive thing. Okay. This is something that's been being worked on. I feel like you switch back and forth between these energies sometimes. For the purpose of this process, I don't know if this happens in other places for you, like other areas for you. I'm seeing the Lovers on the bottom of the deck, so this can be something that happens within a relationship that you have. Eight of Wands. I feel like the path is clear ahead of me, like things are moving forward and quickly. Then the Five of Swords comes up, and it's that split, and you can feel sort of stuck there in the moment of which way do I go here? Because it's like going straight isn't an option, and you can feel sort of like you have to pick right or left when this pops up. Do you have to? Do you not have to? Is it like what you're sort of perceiving? Is it actually how it is? Are those things aligned? Are they not? Like questions like this can start coming up in that moment. But it can also be something that happens too where you feel like self-preservation kind of kicks in. Five of Swords has a connotation where it's focused on the individual, and so you can be like, what's best for me? What do I need here? But it's a fine line between what's best for me and then am I sort of not considering another person in this? It's like boundaries versus doing something that you would perceive as being self-centered and then be like, that's actually not aligned with my values. So it's that line between the two of those things. Because sometimes what's best for you is really best in this situation, and then that's going to mean that that's best for everybody involved. But then sometimes we can do things where it's like, I'm going to disconnect from my heart space and make this choice, because that's just what's serving me, but in a way where you feel disconnected from your heart space. So it's like in disconnecting from that other person or whatever other entity is involved, you can feel simultaneously like there's an internal split that happens where your head and your heart sort of separate in a moment. Having Eight of Pentacles feels like this is a process that you've been working on. So you can feel like you have an awareness of this. Like this is an energy that you've been working with yourself to not maybe shut down in stressful situations, or to know when to take a step back, when to consider what you need to consider, just not do something too soon before you're ready. I think the basis of this, like the first step of this, is recognizing when this split starts to happen. when you feel the separation start to happen, so you're aware of what's actually going on rather than not being aware of this happening, making a choice, and then looking back and being like, I didn't feel like I was grounded in my heart space when I did that. I feel like I just made like a cerebral choice and there wasn't emotion involved in it, and that I may not have honored actually anybody in this situation. I just did what my ego wanted me to do, and my higher self isn't even aligned with that. It can be like those types of things. So recognition of what this happens is definitely the first step. Otherwise, you're mindlessly sort of moving around and then not even aware of this happening until after, and then you look back and see it. So maybe you've been in many situations where things like that have actually happened, where you've done things and then you look back and you're like, oh, like why did I react in that instance? Like those sorts of things. Now I feel like this is a seasoned energy to have Eight of Pentacles. Like I've been working with this part of myself for a while, and having Temperance feels like, and I'm still working with that part of myself, but it can be difficult sometimes. It can be difficult, especially when you're in situations, because Five of Swords happens when you're in a situation and you feel like this urge to need to protect yourself, or the urge to separate myself from anything else for reasons of self-preservation. So there's a reason why this happens. It's not just like for no reason that this pops up. So you can be getting more familiar with what like triggers you to move into this state, recognizing when you're in this state, like when that's coming up for you, recognizing when you feel separate from your heart space, your mind and your heart sort of separating, continuing to work through this. I'm seeing this be something that it seems like you're pretty good at it at this point, recognizing this, but having Temperance feels like I'm still working at this, and it does still feel challenging. But if you look back at maybe how years ago you may have responded when triggering things would happen, things that would trigger this state for you, you could have felt like you were just unleashed in a way that could have been very destructive, both to yourself and whoever else was involved. Now getting to this point, you can be like, I know so much more about myself and like the human parts of me that have these processes, that do these things, and I feel like I'm really gaining a foothold here. So I'm seeing you be at a very advanced stage of understanding this, where you can take that step back and be like, I see what's happening right now. Okay, this is something that can be triggered. I'm seeing two different things come up. This looks like the part of you that's connected with your self-worth, self-perception, that also means to how you perceive other people viewing you as well. If you're in interpersonal situations, it's Queen of Wands and it's Queen of Cups, and that can be where this separation is. Queen of Wands is the part of your energy that wants to be respected, wants to be treated a certain way, wants to even be perceived a certain way, because Wands are about how we're expressing ourselves. And so when there's a misinterpretation of the way that you're expressing yourself, that's something that can be looked at like, I don't like the way that that's being portrayed. It can be that type of feeling. So the Queen of Wands in you is like, I don't want to be disrespected. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want my kindness to be taken advantage of. And it's the part of you that, like, when you think about fire energy, it's going to execute something, to do something, to take hold. It's that you feel in a moment something coming up within you, and it's like, I'm going to do something about that now. Then there's also this part of you that is the Queen of Cups, that is the emotional part of you, that is the intuitive part of you, that is the more sentimental, nurturing part of you. And so you can feel like something had happened that sort of had you feeling like, I need to pick now. Am I going to go the way of the Queen of Wands here, or am I going to go the way of the Queen of Cups? And again, like, this can be something that you could have felt like this split within you, but you could also have perceived it as a split between you and another person. Because whatever's going on internally, you're going to see that reflected externally, potentially. If you're seeing something externally, it's definitely happening internally. It's always going to be occurring there first. If you can get sort of to a microscopic level within you. Having temperance feels like I'm working something out between these parts of myself, and you can also be working something out between you and another person. Queen of Wands can be an energy that can be impulsive sometimes. Fire energy is, again, this like, I'm feeling this thing now and it's just gonna come out. And I feel like I need to respond to what's going on. And then the Queen of Cups can be the part of you that sometimes can lack boundaries. It's the part of you that's involved and is nurturing, but it can also be the part of you that can be a martyr sometimes, or can allow yourself to be stepped on. And so these two energies, you can feel like were clashing within you, and then you could have felt like, do I pick this side or do I pick this side? But you could have felt too like, before doing something about that, I'm recognizing that this split is going on. Maybe rather than taking action yet about this, I need to work something out between these two parts of myself, and then from a place of congruence, I'm gonna know how to move forward with this. Temperance is about taking your time and not rushing to do something, because Queen of Wands can be like a reactive energy, like I need to do something now. And then the Queen of Cups energy can become a bit ungrounded from an emotional standpoint, where you're like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm trying to feel into this, but you can feel like you're not clearly seeing everything. Like it's hard to sort of check into your discernment at that point in time. So having temperance is about taking these two parts of yourself, recognizing these two parts of yourself, and them learning how to work with one another, where they can come to a conclusion and make a decision that both of them agree upon, rather than feeling like, if I go this way I'm split, if I go that way I'm split. It's like finding the middle way sort of between these two energies, where you feel like you're honoring both of these parts of yourself, where you feel like you're not holding back from expressing yourself, and you're also not doing something that is against what you believe in your heart, what you feel in your heart, and what you know to be right and what you know to be true, and that compassionate side of yourself. There's a process of learning, like the deeper you get, the more you're learning about these parts of yourself. A different way of tapping in, a new way of tapping in. So let's say this too. For those of you that this is an interpersonal relationship that you're seeing this play out within, the person that's the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Cups will perceive the Queen of Wands as sometimes can be potentially like just thinking about themselves. Also too, like doing things quickly or doing things impulsively, and also having very, very high standards too. But to the point where it can almost be like, I need you to sort of meet me halfway here. Queen of Wands can look at Queen of Cups and feel like Queen of Cups is overly sensitive sometimes, like overly reactive, to the point where it's like, I feel like logic is not involved in this anymore, and that you're just saying things that you're feeling, but it's actually not based on something that is tangible necessarily. So these two energies can clash a bit. It's fire and water together, you know, like water goes over fire and the fire goes out, and the fire also burns up the water. So it can be this thing where it's difficult. It can be difficult for these elements to work together with one another. But having temperance here shows that being in a state where you're like, what can I learn from you? What can I teach you? And vice versa with this other person, if this is a setting with another person. Again, like it's definitely happening within you and yourself. It can also be something that's happening between you and another person. And it's interesting too, if you look at this Temperance card, so we have fire and we have water with Queen of Wands and Queen of Cups. If you look at this Temperance card, it has the fire and it has the water here. Keep in mind too, the fire is like what makes your blood boil. It can be like the things that annoy you, the things that make you angry, but it's coming from a place of like, I want to be treated the way that I want to be treated. So it can feel triggered at times, but it's just the part of you that's like, I don't want to quiet myself and not express myself and then not be true to myself. Because fire is purity. It's the thing that makes your heart beat. And so it's the part of you that's like, if I live my life in allegiance with that, that fire never goes out, like that drive to be here. But when you dim that, it's something that you can then start feeling depressed, or you can feel disengaged, or you're like dissociating, you know, like you don't really want to be present for things and you feel unmotivated. And then for the Queen of Cups, that's the part of you that thrives off of intimacy and connection and relation, like being able to relate to others. But you could have felt like something that happened sort of split those things apart, where you could have felt like a situation was like, now you have to pick. But I think this is about taking things like a plane higher, like a dimension higher from your point of view, from an aerial point of view, and seeing that this actually doesn't have to be split. This is an energy that can be mended. But it's going to take, because we have Temperance here, and Temperance represents Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about expanding and growing and learning. And so as much as you can look at this other person and feel like, in this instance, I feel like you're very different from me, and that our energies are clashing because we're sort of motivated by two different things right now. It's that in learning and finding those commonalities and even just being in a space of understanding, Temperance says, if there was something else besides Temperance here, it could say like, maybe this just doesn't work, or maybe like there's not enough in common, or there's like a lack of compatibility so much that this is something where you need to be realistic here and you're not going to find what you're looking for. Temperance doesn't say that. Temperance says that if you're down to move through this process and sort of play this type of cycle out, it's something that can actually work, but you have to be willing to work it. That's the thing. So it's not an impossible situation, but it's not something that can feel like the easiest, because again, for those of you that you're dealing with, like you and another person, an interpersonal relationship between the two of you, you can feel like you sort of operate from a different place than this other person does. And you have to learn things about one another. Like what bothers the other. And also too, like the rationale of the other. Even if you don't personally like resonate with that, it's about coming at it from a place of understanding, like what can you show me, what can you teach me, that maybe I don't naturally fall in line with that point of view, like those sorts of things. So it's going to take like a willingness, it's going to take an openness. That's definitely part of it, but Temperance would indicate that that's there. That's something that's part of the mixture here, and that's why this can continue. Again, I do feel like this is something that's been being worked on. Like this feels like either you've been working on this within yourself for a long time, and I wonder too if within the relationship you've been working on this for a long time. Either way, there's something here that I'm seeing where it's like this is not a new process to you. This is something that has been like a long thing that you've really put in the work to understand this part of yourself, and this situation is sort of furthering your education in that way. Like your earth education, that type of thing. So you can be seeing like what blocks things from moving forward. What slows things down and doesn't allow things. It's like going down the river within the situation with this person, and it's the stuff that will like block the flow of that, block the flow of energy and the way that things would naturally go with you and this person. Starting off with Eight of Wands feels like you are making progress in this. So you can feel like this is something that you've been moving through, but now you can feel like you're getting a break, or that things are moving forward, or that something was just now something can progress quickly. That can even be the thing too. Something about somebody may have gotten defensive about something along the lines of that. This can also be about standing up for what you believe in, but in a way where you're still, I feel like cooperation is really important here in this situation. Also too, because Five of Swords is air, communication can also be involved in this too, which would make sense to see Temperance as well, because it's about like taking things in and learning, and communication could definitely be a part of this too. All right, something that's I'm seeing highlighted here, having Eight of Pentacles and having 10 of Cups shows that even though something can be a challenging process, it may take a lot of patience. It can be something that takes a lot of grounding, things of that nature. Even though these things are going on that can feel challenging, having Eight of Pentacles shows this thing that you've been doing, this thing that you've been showing up for and participating in. Having 10 of Cups below it shows that this is connected with an actual genuine sense of joy and fulfillment and happiness for you. So this is something that's legitimately aligned internally for you, which you would know that. When you're in a grounded space, this would be something where you would check in and really feel that resonating within you. Having judgment and having Seven of Wands can be recognizing what puts you into a place where you can feel sort of shut down sometimes, or you can feel like it puts you into a space of feeling like you need to be on defense. Judgment is going to be seeing into something and understanding something, but it can also be too about standing up for yourself, but also seeing like what you're standing up to. So what you perceive as being some type of threat or something that would be taking you in a direction that you don't want to be taken in. And it also means too standing up for like what makes you happy, and it can be too like this symbol of resilience of I'm gonna fight for or show up for what matters for me. So if this is something that I feel like is aligned for me, that is my 10 of Cups, it's something that I'm not gonna back down from the challenge. Because 7 of Wands can be a sign of not giving up, of sticking with something, of persisting, but for the right reasons. Not out of a place of I'm fighting the natural flow of things within this situation, but rather if something is tough, like maybe I want to stick it out here, it can be like that type of thing that you do. So I'm seeing the energy calm down. This Queen of Wands is feeling like whoever was in the energy that would have felt more like the fire energy will be the one that could have been like more expressive or more quick to do something. The water energy will be the one that could have been operating more so from like a place of feeling or emotions. That again, like sometimes can like lack a little bit of rationale, but it's coming from a place of like, this is what I'm feeling, you know, this is what I'm tuning into, like that type of thing. The fire energy feels like they were trying to protect something that feels precious to them, or something that they feel like there's a responsibility that they have to protect something. I'm getting that from the fire energy. Having Temperance and having Page of Cups is about learning the process of like feelings and intuition and how to move through that. Like when I'm having this experience, how do I maneuver through it? So it can be something that feels like, even though there are other parts of this that you can feel more seasoned with, when it comes to maybe like emotions or intuition as it's related to your relationship with this person, you can still feel like that's something that it's continuing to develop. Also, having a Page of Cups here, there can be a child involved in the process. It doesn't have to be. You can feel like the emotions or like the emotional life between you and this person is still in like its youth. So they're still learning about that, like emotions and communication and picking up on the signals of one another, like that type of thing. Because Temperance and Page of Cups is giving me this feeling of like needing to raise, like rear an energy. So it's like when you have a child, like taking care of it and nurturing it. But I'm seeing that be a metaphor for the sort of emotional feeling water relationship between you and this person, which is also to what sort of comes through and soothes things or heals things when there can be like a break or something that needs to be mended. So that's also something here that's being nurtured as well. And Temperance is sort of trying to, you know, like when you join together with another person, there is energy that needs to be nurtured and maintained between the two of you, or yeah, between the two of you, because this does feel like a one-on-one type of thing. For some of you, like even if this is a work situation, it's still like work and you and trying to nurture something between that. So Page of Cups is like needing to nurture this part of something that's blossoming between the two of you that's like energetically been created. It's like your energy and this other person's energy infuses in this way of water, and that's something that's being brought up currently with the two of you. So you're basically like co-parenting this energy essentially, regardless of the type of relationship you have. Because I'm actually not even seeing anything specific, so I feel like this can pretty much apply to anything. So fire energy and Four of Swords feels like the fire energy is getting some type of peace of mind here, can be taking a step back, can be more in a grounded space if they were in an ungrounded space before. And this feels like then it sort of transfers over to the other person. You could have also, too, waited for someone to be able to see something. That can be part of this as well. All right. So this is something that you've been investing in. Having us end with Seven of Cups on the bottom of the deck. We're ending with the Seven of Pentacles, but I'm seeing Seven of Cups on the bottom of the deck. And that can feel like you're still not completely sure about something, or you're still working through something on an internal level. So when it comes to like your feelings around this, you can feel like something hasn't totally stabilized or it's not totally clear yet. That's associated with this thing that you have been investing in emotionally. An emotional investment. A relationship is what it seems like. But it's also about your relationship with yourself too. This feels too like this was a time to actually get to look into what's being invested in. So you could have felt like this sort of like pulled the lid back and you could see really what was inside the container of this situation and what's actually being, where your energy is going. And also, too, like what you want to do here, because Seven of Wands is like, is this something that I want to like fight for, or something that I want to keep participating in, something that matters, something that I still have that spark for, or is it something that I don't? And having Judgment here is going to be looking at that and being like, is this a yes for me still, or is it a no for me? And doing that part of things. Like, Do I still feel happy doing this? What am I feeling? When I'm in a grounded space, it's allowing me to clearly see what I would be investing in if I continue doing this, like that. Seeing the split, recognizing what was happening, it feels like that energy does get broken down between the two of you. So you could have seen what happened. Like, why did we separate there? What was going on? Why do I feel like we started like playing on different teams then in that moment? Like we weren't working together anymore. Ten of Cups is feeling sort of like reconnecting in a way that can feel like something then stabilizes. Temperance is about taking time to get back to a grounded place. Also to emotionally stabilizing mentally and emotionally as well. Things moving forward now. So it feels like the path is cleared. Now everybody's going forward in the same direction. Seven of Wands is feeling like I still have passion for this. This is still something that I want to persist with. Eight of Pentacles feels like it indicates what this is, like the establishment of this thing. So it's like what's sort of you've been creating on the canvas of your relationship with this person. The Page feels like, and that also feels like too, from a practical standpoint, you can feel like there's a lot of practice pragmatically with you and this person. Like from a practical standpoint, you can feel like you've gained a lot of progress. You've really made headway. Now, from an emotional standpoint, you can feel like that's maybe a younger part of the relationship. Because you know when you connect with someone, some things are easier than others. Like sometimes communicating is easy, but then needing to do like earth tasks is hard. So it's like always arguing about there being a mess or the garbage or whatever, but we communicate our feelings really well. You know, it can be that type of thing where in the relationship there can be sort of some things that progress more quickly, more naturally, and other things it's like we have to work more on this. This feels like the emotional component of things, which is about vulnerability. It's about transparency, communicating emotions. It's also about listening to intuition. It's stuff that would be a healing element within your relationship, stuff that would be soothing and allow one to feel safe. Because when you think of your emotions, you think of like, it's not just your emotions, it's the internal parts of you that are the most, that can feel like the most vulnerable parts of you. And those things within the relationship being worked on between the two of you. So it's like that thing again that you're bringing up with this other person. So it's not just your individual stuff, even though that's definitely part of it, and it's not just their individual stuff separated from you. It's like your stuff and their stuff brought together with one another, where it conjoins, and then how it's being nurtured between the two of you. Ending over here with Queen of Wands and Seven of Pentacles feels like now there can be an element of confidence in what one is potentially going to continue investing in. This does feel like a continuation, like that's going to keep happening. But again, there can be some stuff that there's still some emotional stuff that's being worked out, some stuff that you could feel a little bit unsure about, some things that you could feel like hasn't totally been cleared up, or you're just not at a point yet where this feels totally stabilized emotionally. Something along the lines of that. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.